Hey, it's Scot Tempesta from Sailing Anarchy. We're back with our 15th episode of Retro Boat. You may remember we did the J30 here not too long ago. A lot of you people loved it. You couldn't believe the general condition of the boat, especially down below. It is stunning. But during that video, I mentioned the boat right next to it, the J35. And today, that's the one we're gonna do.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Here we are at San Diego Yacht Club again, and this is our J35 today. This is a pristine example of an early 80s J35. In fact, early 80s is when they came out. They started building them in 1983, and they ended the run 330 boats later in 1992. Nearly a 10-year run. Pretty impressive. One way that you can tell that this is an early boat is because it has the plexiglass windows. And you'll notice, by the way, the similarity of the J35 windows to the J30 windows, right? J-Boat definitely had a window sort of theme. I have an obsession with windows. I think the windows make the boat in so many ways, and I happen to love this. They did about 100 boats with the plexiglass windows, and then after that, the rest were all opening port with a third port right up there for more ventilation in the front. Couple things you notice right away, besides how cherry the boat is how big the boat is. It's a big 35-footer, but I'll tell you right now, this boat is just about 12 feet wide. That's a big boy. It's like 11.8. The boat weighs about 10,000 pounds, about 4,400 pounds, I think, displacement or ballast on the boat. The boats are relatively powerful, big masthead rigs, giant overlapping Genoas, big symmetrical spinnakers. The boats didn't really lack for power much at all, but when the wind got up to about 8 knots, that's when these things really came into their own. 8 and above J35s are wicked. I would submit to you that if you wanted to win in PHRF today, you'd buy yourself a J35, you'd take as much stuff off of it as you could, being legal of course, and maybe change a couple of systems, put some good sails on the boat. This boat would be an automatic winner in PHRF. I actually considered one, but it's too fat for my slip, so I went the Ericsson 35 Mark II route. Let's hop aboard. The J35 came out in a really interesting time. Like I said, 1983 is when the boat was first introduced. That's right in the middle of the IOR era, and this was definitely not an IOR boat. Difference being no weird bumps, no rating tricks, not a fractional rig. They were just going for a boat that would be super fast for its size, and the boat was, and it is. But also owing to its mid-early 80s heritage, you have a cockpit that's relatively small, safe to say. You might contrast this to the J125 we did a couple episodes ago. This is almost the polar opposite in so many ways, and it shows a little bit about the evolution of boats, right? So the J125 is about 5 feet longer. It's probably over 2 feet narrower. The J125 weighs a couple thousand pounds less. And the cockpit, as you recall, on the J125 is huge. If you were doing this boat today, you'd no doubt push this forward and make it bigger. But interestingly, as it looks so small, it's actually amazingly functional. I mean, you've got the trimmer area here for the Genoas and the spinnaker. This probably isn't that much fun, but it's just the way it goes. It's never fun to grind. But you've got lots of expanse here. You have tons of room for the pit person. The mainsail trimmer is right here. And of course, in this boat, they have a wheel. So obviously he's got his own nice little compartment back here. If this boat had a tiller, the tiller would extend up quite a ways, and the Traveler is not in that location. But this wheelboat is nice. You can see how far aft it carries its beam right until it starts to get fairly narrow. Sort of the opposite of what some of the large stern section IOR boats were starting to look like. But again, this wasn't a rule boat. This was just, let's build a fast boat. Let's do it simple in terms of the design, clean and efficient, and they made themselves one hell of a nice boat. 330 of them is how nice they were. One of my favorite things on any boat are wide side decks. I just love it. And of course, skinnier boats, it's hard to do, especially if you're gonna have a cabin house this substantial. So given the fact that it's 11.8 feet wide, you're gonna have nice wide side decks, and that's what this boat has. So this is a nice little feature to have here. How does it work? Well, back when they did these boats, not everything was automatic. You didn't push any buttons, you just did it yourself. So in this particular boat, it's got a nice aluminum anchor. You just grab the anchor out of here. I'm sure this is what they did. Take it forward. He's got his access for his chain and his rod right here. Probably brings the anchor up here, attaches the chain. The boat starts to go in reverse, just drops the anchor down and slowly feeds it out. And then when he's done, feels like it's snug, ties it off right here. I like it personally. I think it's really clean. You hardly notice that it's there. And if it was up here, you would notice it. The other thing I want you to notice up here on this boat is because it's wide and because it carries its beam fairly far forward, it's a nice big foredeck area. Some of the boats, more modern boats, they get a little skinny up here. This boat has a lot of room to work with. Huge foredeck hatch, nice ventilation hatch for the head, mid-deck hatch as well, and then of course the main companionway hatch. This boat has a couple things a little different. He set this boat up for cruising. Roller furler, right? He's got his ring here, his gun for his sprit for an asymmetrical, right? He just slides it in here, and then when he flies his ASO, he's got a prod that sticks out a little bit, so it's easy to set the thing, it's easy to jibe the thing. You probably wouldn't do this if you had a race boat. You'd have that out of there, and you might actually think about replacing this with maybe something that's smaller or not at all. Do what I do. Just tie the dock lines off to the bow pulpit. That's perfectly seaman-like, I'm sure. Boats of this generation and preceding it had almost exclusively masthead rigs, certainly on the West Coast, that's true. And they had huge fore triangles. I mean, take a look at the spinnaker pull. That is one long pull, and that's because the J dimension is huge. It's a good size rig. Very good at almost all conditions. Suffers a little bit in the very, very light, but like I said earlier, a little bit of breeze, this boat takes off because it's got a ton of sail area to power this 10,000 pound, nearly 12 foot wide boat. What do you say we go down below our J35? The first thing you notice about this particular J35 is just how cherry it is. It's really nice. Top sides and down below, it might even be nicer. Everything's beautifully varnished. Bulkheads are clean. All the bonds look really great. Chain plates look like they're in good shape. J-boats were made of balsa core. Certainly a lot of the early boats were, and this boat is one of them. And balsa core is great. It's light, it's relatively stiff, but it does not like water intrusion. I mean, it'll literally take balsa core and turn it into mushy cardboard if there's enough water in there. J-boats were not immune to that, and they are known for having some of those issues. I don't know if this boat has any or had any, but it certainly looks clean. By the way, speaking of things about J-boats, we have a dedicated J-boat Anarchy forum on Sailing Anarchy. And there are topics ranging from all the size boats, the pluses, the minuses, race results, things that went wrong, things that got fixed, modifications, everything. Again, that's J-boat Anarchy as a forum inside sailinganarchy.com. Okay, couple other things on this boat. It's been modded, and here is one thing that they did. They put the galley sink here. It's located back there. They said that it made it a little difficult to do dishes back here. I wouldn't know anything about that. So what he did is he built this out right here. Really nice. It looks actually like it belongs in the boat. Got storage underneath. The carpentry seems nice. The one thing that it does do is it shortens up that bunk quite a bit. So this bunk becomes the kid bunk, I'm sure. But it opens up the galley, provides this a little bit, and gives a little better access maybe to back here in this relatively wide quarter berth. I mean, I would suggest two people can sleep back there without a doubt. Same on the starboard side as well. He also added these nice little wood coverings for the ugly back end of the instruments, which we all don't want to see. In this case, he did a really nice job with that. You can see just how nice and relatively spacious the boat is. Again, that's something that you get when you build a fat boat. You're going to have a lot of interior volume. And the other thing that's nice, for relatively low profile as the boat is, it's got a fair bit of headroom. I mean, it's pretty good for me and somebody even a little bit taller. It's kind of a nice feature down below. So it's a pleasant place to be. You wonder where the table is. You really wonder no more. It's right on the bulkhead, just like the Express 37 was, and a lot of boats do that, just to get it out of the way when you're racing. Opens up the main salon for sail storage and access to the front of the boat and the back of the boat. So that's actually a really nice touch, because really, how often do you sit down below? And no, you're mostly up there. So it's a nice way to do it. J-Boats really thought this boat out nicely. There's not too much about it that you would go, oh, geez, that's a deal killer. No, this is a good boat. And as I said earlier, a great PHRF boat. So coming to the aft part of the boat, the other modification that he did to the boat is he added nice upper shelves above the settees. That's really a nice feature. Here's the standard sort of icebox / navigation station. Back then, we didn't sit down and navigate. We stood up and did our business right here. And so you enough room back then to lay out paper charts. Do you remember those paper navigation charts? They actually had those. And so, you're trying to cram as much stuff as you can into a boat like this, right? You need to cover all the basics, the galley and the icebox and the nav station. This was a relatively conventional way to lay out boats back then. And for me, I think it's absolutely great. Hello, surprise. Check out this feature, an actual door to the forepeak and the head. Pretty nice to have that for privacy. Not something you would necessarily think would be on a race boat. And this boat was designed to be a race boat, but it also had the idea of people want to cruise the boat, right? And so here it is. It's got probably the largest head area up here. It's amazingly long, and of course the boat's beamy even up here, so there's a lot of width. Very nice hanging locker here. It's a really pleasant place to be. Oh, that wasn't enough of a door for you? You said you need another door on your boat? Well, here, I got another one for you. So whenever I mouth off, the crew tricks me to go up there to get some beer, and then they just lock me in. And the boat goes a hell of a lot faster. No, this is nice for privacy, right? I mean, if you're going to sleep and you got some guests back here and they're going to use the head, why not have this? I mean, I don't know if you can take it off for racing, but I don't think my boat came with the doors. But wow, right? Nice consideration for some comfort and some really nice little features. The forepeak is plenty wide and it's long enough. You've got a big locker up there for even more anchor if you choose, but you can store anything up there relatively light. You want to keep the weight out of the ends. But wow, I mean, this is a nice place to be and kind of a nice little bonus. Right? You don't necessarily think that this area is going to be this spacious on this boat, but this one is really sweet. This concludes this episode of Retro Boat. Hope you enjoyed it. There's not much to not like about the J35. We have some gems coming up. We've got a really interesting monohull, over 70 feet, a boat that you may not even know about, but when we show it to you, your mind will be blown. Plus, we're gonna do, well, boats that have more than one hulls. And the one we're gonna do coming up in one of our next videos is an amazing boat with an incredible history, a very modern history. And so we're gonna have some fun with that. If you like this video, and you do, click the like button and please subscribe to our channel so that you can know where all our good stuff is and keep track of when the new stuff comes up as well. For Nobleman Productions, for Sailing Anarchy, I'm Scot Tempesta. We out.